In Microsoft's quarterly earning report in April end, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said that the tech giant has seen 2 years' worth of digital transformation in just 2 months. This statement actually stands true for a lot of businesses across several verticals. Simply to sail through remote teamwork seamlessly, companies have relied on tech tools and video conferencing platforms like Microsoft Teams. Just for instance, in April, Microsoft saw more than 200 million Microsoft Team meeting participants in a single day. That's a record number. Now, to find out the long-term impact of COVID-19 and how tech companies are ramping up operations to meet the surge, I'm now joined by Anant Maheshwari, President of Microsoft India, for a very special conversation with us on Startup Street. Anant, let me start by talking to you about the impact of COVID-19 on Microsoft globally and, of course, on India as well. Can you tell us what the past 60 days have been for you like?
As I guess everybody knows, this is unprecedented. Never has any scenario ever planned for something like this. And therefore, every company and I think every organization on the planet is reacting to it in the best possible way. Microsoft's done the same. And I think our connection to this and our support for this has been in many different directions, right from the global response to supporting all kinds of activities around healthcare, around government support, around citizen support, and also making sure that as many companies as possible can continue to work from home or work from anywhere as they work through this crisis. In India, we've been pretty much doing the same thing.
All right. Let me now shift focus to your external efforts. Can you talk to us about how your tech is helping fight the pandemic? I ask this because I've picked up reports on how HoloLens, which is a mixed reality product that Microsoft had developed, is actually helping protect doctors while patient care. So talk to us about some of the tech that you've been working on to help us get through these unprecedented times.
So at multiple levels, I would say, let me just start with the front lines of healthcare. There, I think the frontline health workers, and my kudos to them because they're fighting this battle on the behalf of all of humanity and India, is the help that they need for remote support, for talking to patients through platforms, and even getting information in a way that they can apply immediately. So tech is helping doctors, hospitals, nurses in many different ways in getting these new protocols across, having patients talk through Teams, and also the analytics as the disease spread is widening and new information gets available. Now, moving to another part of the society which has again got affected deeply, and it affects almost every one of us, is schools, colleges, and education. And there again, immediately we had to shut down schools and colleges, as you know. But our focus has been to enable every school, every college possible to be able to continue this remote education. And let's not forget, one thing is getting just the platform in place like Teams, where teachers can talk to students. But let's not forget that neither were the teachers ever trained for this, nor were the students ever prepared for this. And therefore, you've got to get a lot of training done for teachers to make the best use of the platforms. Over the last 60 days, I'm really happy to share that nearly 1 million plus students in India are already on the platform, and many more are coming on. And we have more than lakhs of teachers who have been trained on this. There's been a tremendous uptake in the schools and colleges, and our team is just busy making that happen every day. Moving to another sphere, which is government and citizen support, a number of apps and platforms have been created to get the information back to citizens, to provide self-test support or self-assessment support. And in working with hospitals and governments, we've enabled many of those platforms. And finally, I think coming back to the economy, the businesses, whether it's very large businesses or even the small and medium businesses, we've been really focused to get every one of them back up online and really making the work from home very productive for each one of them. More than 30 of the top 50 companies in India are on the Microsoft platforms today in just the remote collaboration work and the Teams work that I just spoke of. And on the other end of the spectrum, we also made it very easy and free for the small and medium businesses to just get on, even if they did not have the platform.
Okay. Let me also ask you that, we've been seeing tech giants talk about the power of artificial intelligence and almost peg it as to how it's going to be the only way going forward. So the big question that arises at a time like this is that why did AI not save us from COVID-19?
So very quickly, distinguishing between artificial intelligence and natural intelligence, which all of us as human beings are very, very aware of. AI, just as the platform, depends on data and modeling of the past and therefore learns from it to predict future scenarios of what may be coming. The simple fact that all of us are aware of is that for this kind of a COVID crisis, there was no past instance that data was already modeled on. So therefore, I think what AI can do in the current situation is really help on the reaction that we are having, the responding that we are doing at this point in time, and also then will help in the rebound and the reimagination of the world coming up. So let me just talk about the response. On the response, there's a lot of work happening in testing kits, in vaccine development, in also predicting the spread of the disease in different communities. And that is where a lot of AI and analytics is now getting applied to accelerate all the work that front-end workers are doing in supporting the communities where the spread is high, and also supporting the research agencies and a lot of the work that's happening here. Just back home in India right now, I would say the IIT Delhi work that has happened with ICMR in testing kits, we've been very involved in supporting that capability. And therefore, there are many other research efforts that we are supporting at this point.
All right, so we do need a lot of previous data for AI to work in an optimal fashion. But, Anant, we briefly spoke about Microsoft Teams. Give us an update on what kind of surge have you been seeing and what did you have to do in the back end to kind of manage this traffic? I did start by talking about some record numbers, including, I believe currently you have about 75 million daily active users on the platform. So give us an update on that.
So number one, I think if you look at the global metrics around Teams, we've had within the last month the 200 million people as daily active users on, and therefore I think there's a lot of traction that Teams has had in the last 60 days, because it's kind of becoming a way of life. And just to distinguish, Teams has a very strong video conferencing capability that we are using right now, but it is more than just a video conferencing solution. It is a way of getting work done. And that is what is really making organizations shift to Teams vis-a-vis many other platforms. Because with Teams, not only can you see each other and you can talk to each other, but you can also make sure that all your conversations on the side, all the collaboration that you need to do, the documents, the processes that you have to do inside an organization or even beyond, all of that gets done, and with very high security. With very high privacy. So I think that's really the combination of the platform coming together as a collaboration platform rather than just a video conferencing platform. And that's, I think, what now is becoming more and more relevant, because initially in the first 15, 20 days, what was needed was just video conferencing. But now that a lot of people know that this is the new normal that we are living through, the needs for collaboration and getting work done is becoming higher and higher, and therefore Teams is gaining more and more traction.
Sure. Yeah, I understand the fact that you have to go beyond just being a video conferencing platform. But Anant, can I ask you to then draw up a comparison between Teams and Skype? I ask this because even today, a lot of traditional companies continue to bet on Skype for business. But for you guys at Microsoft, how do the two models compare in terms of priority, in terms of traction, and even in terms of investment?
So at a very simplistic level, I would say there is modern work and there's modern life. And you would need to get certain tools to get work done. But we also need to continue to have our personal interactions and making sure that everything goes on at least as normal as we can make it as we go forward. So Skype to me is a lot more for our day-to-day lives in really connecting with our friends, family, networks, personal networks. And it's got that relative simplicity in getting going. It also has interesting features like a Meet Now feature now, where you can create a simple video of a conversation that you may be having with somebody in 3 clicks. So that's where Skype, I think, is strong at in its simplicity and its presence for our day-to-day lives. Teams is way beyond, as I said, than just a video conferencing platform, and is increasingly getting used for work because of the additional capabilities that it has beyond video conferencing.
Okay. So Skype for modern life and Teams for modern work. But then before we can wrap up this conversation, let me also ask you about the future of working remotely. Would this be a temporary trend, or do you see this to have like a long-term impact on work culture, business models, and even startups across the globe? What's your estimate?
So, it's very interesting. I've been observing this in terms of statements by a lot of people. And at one level, I think there was a dogma around working from office. And there seems to be a dogma right now around working from home. I don't think the world will shift from one dogma to another. It'll really have some sort of a hybrid structure as we go forward. And it'll depend on how we see the value of each. So number one, let's not forget that when we go to office, we build very, very strong social connections, people connections. The whole social fabric is very much a part of being part of a working community. And that is very important. Today, in the last 2 months, we are chipping away a little bit on that social capital that we have created over years. So there will be that need to reinvest and make that social capital happen in the future. At the same time, I do a lot of traveling during my work, and I know a lot of people do. And in the past, we would have said, hey, listen, I have a very important meeting in Mumbai today, and I should take a flight in the morning from whichever city I am in the country in India, go do that meeting in Mumbai and come back by the evening, or 2 meetings in Mumbai and come back in the evening. Now people will really question, do I really need to spend those 10, 12 hours being in transit to get that 1 hour or 2 hours of productive work done? And can I switch that into a very strong collaboration solution where all the people can be present and we can get a lot of work done? So that's the balance that I think will happen, that it'll be a hybrid kind of a model that will happen, and each company and each situation will determine the equilibrium of that hybrid separately. A great example is how TCS announced the 25-25 model for the future. I think it's reflecting a very good outlook towards what the hybrid may look like, especially for a large company like that.
All right, Anant, you've raised some existential questions right here, and I think many are wondering if that is going to be the way forward. But before I wrap up, any India-specific trends that you have seen emerge during this time, something that stood out when compared to the rest of the world?
I think one trend definitely is that India is a very high mobile country, and therefore the ratio between the mobiles and the PCs or laptops would be very skewed towards the mobile. As people are working more and more from home, they're realizing that they do need the large screen and the machine to continue to do full days of work. You can't really get that done just on a mobile phone. So there will be a trend line now to have a higher share in hardware capabilities around PCs and laptops and even virtual desktops that may happen with other innovations that are coming through. So that from a pure IT point of view, I think a definite trend that India will have more accelerated than the rest of the world. The second and another piece that I would say is that in India also has a very large SME sector, and how that sector now moves a lot more into tech enablement will be a trend line, because I think the larger companies were better set up, but it's the smaller companies that will need to change a lot more in terms of how they get work done.
All right, so digital transformation for SMEs and basically going back to basics, not just in personal, but also in professional life, and bigger bet on IT hardware. That's going to be the way forward. Anant, thank you so much for sharing all those details with us and joining us right here on Startup Street. With that, it's a wrap on this edition, but don't go anywhere. More news and updates coming up for you on the other side. Stay tuned.